So here in James 5:15, we see several words in the King James translation that have been just totally mishandled. First of all, the word prayer here is a vow, where I've already made a video talking about this, video 176. Where here I want to focus in on this word they've translated sick, where if you open up the interlinear and you come down here, shall save the sick. This is from the verb. This is a verb actually. Kamno. And it only occurs a couple times in the New Testament. And you see here how they translated it sick here in James, but then they also translated it faint here. And then the definition says to grow weary, to be sick. However, the verb which would define to be sick or become sick is naseo. You can see down here in the definition, to be sick, where this verb they translated it dote in the one-time verb form, but there's other derivations of this same word family, where here's the noun, the thing, nasos. Sickness, a sickness, where we find this word in word family about 25 total times. So if you have the Devar software and you just type the word sick, you see sickness, sicknesses, plural, sick, from nasos. We're then back to the verb kamno. This is a different word in a completely different word family. It's not even in the word family of sick. So when they translated it sick here, they're not giving the proper definition of the word in the verse here. Because the context is not saving the sick. It's something else here. It's something else. Again, it's related to the vow of faith. Watch the other video I just referenced. And who will save the staggering one. Staggering one. 2577. Kamno. Also found in Hebrews 12:3. That you may not stagger like a drunkard. Where here the King James has translated the same word, wearied. Where again in James it's sick. So obviously the one who is staggering is not saved, or else James wouldn't write concerning a vow of faith, because abiding in faith is the condition of being saved, which will save the staggering one. Where then in Hebrews, again, we see the context of staggering to what is called outloosening, ekluo. Where in Galatians 6:9, we see Paul uses the word outloosen according to harvest. We'll harvest since we did not outloosen ourselves, which the harvesting is taking the reward of the eternal life, Aeonian life here. So this ties even to more verses. In John 4:36, Jesus says the harvesting one takes reward and leads to gather fruit into eternal life. So at the like same time, both the sowing one who has not yet taken the reward and the harvesting one may be joyful. So this whole context points to the judgment when Christ returns. And the reward here brings us to 1 Corinthians chapter 3, where the context is land work here, planting, sowing, watering. and each will take his own reward according to his own tiring. We come down here, but the work of each will become revealed, for the day will make it obvious, because it is then unveiled in the fire, and the work of each, what kind it is, the fire will examine it, whether here it's gold, silver, valuable stones, or wood, grass, straw. And if anyone's work will abide, which he built on, he will take reward. However, if anyone's work will be downburned, he will lose the reward. But he will be saved so as through fire. So here again, we see the context of saved. Which brings us all the way back to James. Because the staggering one here, according to, remember, outloosen, would not take the reward. But they will lose the reward, but he will be saved as through fire, would be according to coming back to the faith. So, as staggering one, he is not saved. Or else, again, James wouldn't write, and the vow of faithing will save the staggering one. A vow of faith that saves the staggering one means that the one who's staggering prior to taking a vow of faith is not saved. So, the staggering one here would correspond to one being tempted. James chapter 1, let not one being tempted say, I am tempted under the authority by God. For God is untemptable by badness. He himself does not tempt anyone, but each one is tempted by his own desire, being drawn out and being lured. Thereupon the desire taking up seed bears sin, and sin, having been finished away, gestates into death, away from life towards death. So the point being is that all these occurrences of temptation, according to the staggering one, is what is called apostasy from the faith. Here in Luke chapter 8, we see that in a term of temptation, the word stand off is actually a verb from the noun apostasia, which we find in 2 Thessalonians 2:3. This is the noun, the thing, where the stand off is ephistemi, is the verb, the action. Where here again we see another word, out deceive, which would accord with being outloosened. There, if we jump down to verse 10, what do we read? So, with every deceit of unrighteousness among those being wholly loosened away, which I talked about in the last video, because they did not receive the love of the truth beforehand, for what? For their being saved. So these will not take the reward, but they still can be saved because there's still judgment for them. So God sends them the inworking of error, and to the end that they faith on the basis of the falsification, so that they altogether may be judged who are not faithing in the truth, but are well deeming in unrighteousness. So there's still saving for them as through fire, but they will not take the reward in the context of out of the midst here, which is the rapture. The word mesos, middle here, points to Matthew 25:6, where we find the same word. Matthew 25:6. Middle of the night, mesos, same word, out of the midst, middle, where when the door is shut to the wedding here at midnight, these hereafter come and say, Lord, Lord, open to us. So these now can make a vow of faith to come back into the finishing, who are staggering and then will be out loosened in the way.